Hi, I'm Lisa Bobyak, Living Fully Balanced. I help busy women and some good men create balance in their lives. And I've got tools that help them make room in their lives for what matters to them most. Most of my people, meaning I'm just like my people, are busy and we are overwhelmed with a lot of the stuff on our plate. But what I'm able to do is cut through the clutter and help them find what works for them. When I was myself struggling with losing weight all my adult life, I truly looked for answers, and I not only was looking for answers, I was reading, I was going through programs, and I was finding that there was a ton of information out there, and a lot of it was contrary and counterintuitive, and it was overwhelming. So I was looking for something that would connect the dots for me. I was looking for that missing link that would take me from knowing what to do to actually doing it, right? And I couldn't find it. So I decided to create it. And what I've created has transformed lives. So I'm excited to share it with you. And as I'm talking today, and my guess is we're going to be together for 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending upon if you want to get involved. I would love your responses, because I'm going to start asking some questions and ask how you're doing. Now, actually, since this is my first time on Facebook Live, Leslie, good to see you. And Ray is on. Good to see both of you. So sadly, my phone is turned and your names are going up and down, and my phone is turned the different way. So good to have you guys. If you're on, let me know. And we'll just get a conversation going. Because today what I want to tell you is the one shift you need to make to increase your energy. Because what I'm finding with a lot of the people I talk with is we're exhausted. We are busy doing things for other people and for ourselves. We have work, we have family, we've got parents we're caring for, we've got children we're caring for, whether they're physically at home or whether they're still in our hearts. So we're overwhelmed. But I have found 9 keys that help us stay renewed and energized, and I want to share with you this shift that is major, and I really think it's going to be surprising. And I'm probably going to look down at my notes periodically, because what I want today to be is not just me blabbing, but me sharing some critical information that could very well possibly help you and grow you. That's my goal. So I'll be looking down at my notes just to make sure I've got all the content I want to share with you. So far 7 people are with us. That's great. Leslie and Ray, do you guys have any questions? Who else is here? Carrie, good to see you. Good to see you all. Thanks to see you. So while we're talking, you might want to get out a piece of paper, because toward the middle, we're going to start having a conversation, and you may want to take some notes. And while we're thinking about wanting more energy, right? Let's go to the reverse for a second. I'd like you to think about a time when you were completely exhausted. Do you have to think far? I'm just thinking last night, that's as far as I have to go. But when's the time that you've been exhausted? Truly, if you're up for sharing, type in or text, when have you been exhausted? What was going on in your life when you were exhausted? I'd love to know. I know for me, I get the most exhausted when I'm not eating well. I get the most exhausted when I'm not sleeping well. Who's here? Carla, good to see you. Actually, I can't see you, but you can see me. Good to have you guys. Gosh, I got to figure out how to turn my phone so I can read your names. So what was going on when you were exhausted? What was holding you back from feeling your best. And if I'm not able to read what you're saying, follow along in your head. What was holding you back? I know one time in particular when I was the most exhausted was when I rejoined Weight Watchers my, shall we say, 5th time. And I wasn't only exhausted, I'm almost going to say I was pissed off. I was really angry at myself for, quote, having to be back at Weight Watchers, right? I knew all this stuff. Why did I have to join Weight Watchers to lose weight? Why did I have to pay money to have somebody tell me what I already know? And every time I would lose weight, right, whether it was with Weight Watchers or any other program, I would lose weight, and then something would stop me from getting to my goal, like to my healthy weight, and I never got to goal. So that 5th time through Weight Watchers, when I joined in 2001, I remember saying to the receptionist, I said, I'm not going to get to goal. I kind of almost challenge you guys to get me to goal. I never got to goal before, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. Never got to goal before. Why would it happen now? You see how that limited me? Like, I believed that for about 6 months. Do you have stories like that? Stories that you might say when you're feeling frustrated or down or angry at yourself or feeling held back? I wonder if you're texting and I can't see it. Can you like it? Tell me if you can hear me by liking. If you push the like button, then I can tell that you hear me. I'm not seeing any. I see 1, 2, awesome. Okay, so you can totally hear me? Good, 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 good. And if you want to interact, that would be awesome. I'm not going to force you, but I will tell you, if you interact with me, then I'm able to give you better content and we can have a richer conversation. So it would be awesome if you did, but I'm not going to force you to. So in my business, right, working with women who are wanting more from themselves, and actually some aren't even wanting more, they want more simple. And I figured and determined 9 keys to renewing and re-energizing. And so on Tuesday, I'm going to be presenting all of those on a Connecting with the Coach call. And I do that every 2nd Tuesday of the month. It's called Connecting with the Coach. It's a 45-minute conversation, and it starts at 7 p.m. Central Time. And it's always complimentary. So 2nd Tuesday of every month, I do this, and it's easy to register for on my website. So check that out if you want more tips to re-energize and not just re-energize, but kind of feel renewed is really what we're going to talk about on Tuesday night. So join that. My website is livingfullybalanced.com, and I'd love to have you there. But for this one key, this one best, I would say, practice, the biggest shift to make to regain energy, I find super surprising, which is why I want to bring it up to you. Yes, getting more sleep is helpful. And yes, eating well is helpful, right? All of those things we can't discount. But the one shift that we need to make to bring about the most energy is giving up our story. Do you know what I mean by that? Giving up our story. Like my story of I can't keep my weight off. That was my story for 25 years. I can't keep it off. That's just not for me. Or that program failed me, right? I used it, and honestly, there's a piece of every story, even if it's a negative story, even if it holds us back from moving forward, there's a piece of everything, every story, that has a positive intent. So somewhere in my life, that story helped me. Probably helped me overcome the feelings of failure. But that 5th time through Weight Watchers, it was no longer helping me. I needed to reframe that. So giving up your story, the story is that replaying tape in your head. So you might hear the same thing over and over when you're feeling a negative emotion. Who else joined? Easy. Good to see you guys. So usually that replaying tape is replaying some kind of injustice that's been perpetuated on us. And I know my examples are simplistic. I would love to hear your examples of your replaying tape, so type them in if you can. With my particular example that I'm sharing with you, I'd often say, when I would go back to Weight Watchers and weigh in, right? I'd say, well, it was my birthday. Had to eat the cake, you know, the kids made, right? I would blame something else on my lack of moving forward. I tried it all. Nothing works for me. The program failed. That's an old story. That's not helpful. So here's what I believe at my core, and I want to share it with you, that it's all about choice. And this is like awesome, because when we feel like we don't have a choice, when we feel like we're in victim mode, it sucks our energy. It's burdensome, and it's overwhelming, and it's exhausting. But when we feel like we've got a choice, when we feel like we're in control of moving forward, in control of our situations, then we can become aware of the difference between fact in that situation or our perception of the situation. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if it does. Can you do a thumbs down? I don't even know if we don't have an unlike. So, now there's some thumbs up. The perception of what's going on is the way we interpret the facts. So the way I interpreted going to Weight Watchers, for example, was it's going to fail me again. That's just my interpretation. That wasn't truly the fact. If I could reframe it, and ultimately I did, and ultimately that's what we all need to do, reframe that like, does this truly have to be true? Could Weight Watchers actually be helpful for me? Could I actually get to goal and keep it off? What would happen if I did? Those are questions I needed to process. So here's the power in this shift. The power in the shift of giving up your story is that our energy is drained when we feel like a victim. But when we reframe, when we stay in a growth mindset, we stay positive and we have more energy. So that's how we re-energize, getting rid of that old story. So how do you do it? Do you want to know? So how do you give up the old story, Lisa? That's kind of tough. Been wanting to do that for years. Am I hearing that from you? So 4 things that we can do easily to give up your story. So if you have a pen and paper, write them down, because I think they're simple, but I think, well, not I think, I know they're critical to giving up a story. So here they are. Number 1, call it out, meaning identify and recognize that what you're saying actually is not necessarily the truth. What you're saying is your interpretation of the situation. And when you recognize that, that's going to be one of the most critical pieces. Critical. I actually am a really positive person. I appear bubbly. I spin things positively for my friends very easily. But in my head, not so much. And it took me years to recognize that I was having this negative playing tape that was holding me back. Once you recognize it, that's your key to moving forward. But I want you to I want you to know that it takes time to identify those things. And I want you to grant yourself some grace in that process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And honestly, it takes a little bit of coaching, because we default to the old way of thinking, right? That's just what we do as humans. And our brains are wired to do what it's always done. With a coach's help, you can rewire and you can reframe more quickly and get yourself out of those old patterns that have held you back and into new patterns which can move you forward. So I truly encourage you to find a good coach to work with. They're all over. Yeah, they're all over. Right, Ray? If you're in Missouri, check out Ray. So first things first, call it out. Be aware. Be aware of your limiting beliefs. And then have something to say to those limiting beliefs. And I'm saying maybe not out loud, but like in your mind, have a phrase or a mantra ready to go. So when I heard in my head, you're not going to be able to keep your weight off, I decided I'm going to hold my hand up, kind of, like this and say, that's not helpful. You could do that's not helpful. You could say pause and replay. You could say erase. What could you say to call it out and to stop that negative loop? So that's the first thing. Second step to giving up your story is actually to flush it out. So now that you've identified the negative piece that holds you back, right? Now flush it out. Ask yourself some questions. Like, is what I'm telling myself actually true? Is it ultimately true? Is it possible that something else could be true? And most likely it is. And then give yourself some time to think about what else could be true. So that's the second thing. You got to call it out, flush it out with some questions that are deep, and it's going to take some time. You actually need some intention with this one. And then the third is to reframe it. And reframing means you're having the same situation, but you have a different perspective on it. So do you know what I mean by reframing? It's as if you've got an old photograph, right? And it's in this tarnished picture frame. It's dingy, it's tarnished, it's dusty. You take off the old frame, you put a new, bright, shiny frame around the old photo, makes it look a lot different. It gives it a whole new perspective. So that's called reframing. You take your situation and you put a different lens on it, or a different frame is what I call it. So it doesn't necessarily mean be Pollyanna with it and make it sugar-coated and spin it positively. It can mean spin it positively, but it could mean take the situation as a growth situation. What can I learn from this situation? Old habit of mine, I'd step on the scale, I gained weight, and I'd say, there I go again, see? Couldn't lose weight this week. But the reframed mind is, I looked at the scale, I gained weight, same situation, right? But the mind now says, what can I learn about this situation? What was it about my week that caused me to gain weight? The key to that then is to stay neutral with it and learn from it. So call out, flush out, reframe, and then the fourth step to giving up your story is to refocus. Our old stories focus on the past, right? That's what they do. That's actually kind of comfortable to hang there. That's our kind of natural loop. We hang in the past. When we refocus, we don't hang in the past. We're in the present and we're looking forward to the future. So rather than talking about the negative past experiences that we can't change, we're going to use those experiences and focus on the future. What's possible for me when I give up my old story? Like if I actually give up the story that no weight loss plan could help me, and I believe that I can lose weight and keep it off, what's possible for me? I'll tell you what's possible for me. I can jog. I can go for longer bike rides. I can play with my kids. I can bend down on the floor and get up without my hands. Couldn't do that before, but I can now, right? That's possible. So what are your thoughts? 4 steps to giving up your story, because giving up an old story holds us back, weighs us down, exhausts us. One way to get more energy. So how did that land on you? I'm not seeing any comments, so if you're still there and you're listening, give me a thumbs up so I know you can still hear me. Cool, thank you. Thanks, Ray, appreciate it. So negative thoughts, they squander our energy. They squash it. But releasing those negative emotions honestly and reframing, it has the potential to just give us an abundance of energy and a peaceful ease. So there you have it. One of the biggest shifts. Oh, I'm going to stop and turn my head because Tom is giving me a comment. Tom, I'm going to read it out to everybody if that's okay. For a long time, I believed gaining weight was a part of aging. And when I changed that thinking is when I lost the weight. I didn't think of these steps, but did execute them. Yeah. Thanks, Tom. So you did what I'm talking about naturally. You did it intuitively. That is so cool. And ultimately, that's what all of us can do. Intuitively know that what is holding us back doesn't have to be holding us back anymore. Thank you, Tom, for commenting. Anybody else have a thought? So if you're ready to take this shift a little further, right, rather than taking it from, keeping it in the head as just information to possibly use, if you really want to implement this, and that's my goal always as a coach, is to not just help find new information, but help implement it. So here you go. Take this to the new level if you're ready. I'll give you an opportunity for accountability. When we state things out loud and when we share them with people, our chances for success go up. So here's your opportunity to stay accountable. And I don't have to read your name to the group, but why don't you, if you'd like to stay accountable, let us know what's the phrase you would like to use when your head goes south. That's what I call it. When there's an old story that's holding you back and you catch it, what's the phrase you're going to use? What's the phrase you're going to use when you call it out? I use "that's not helpful." Actually, some of you who know me, I'm a little bit more sarcastic than that. I'll say, well, that's not helpful. And it works for me. What works for you? What would be a mantra that you'd like to have on hand, ready to go, to call it out? Thanks for the likes, guys. Anybody want to share? This is your opportunity for success. Okay, so you don't have to share today, but for you to be the most successful, have one ready to go, because honestly, when you've got the negative thought pattern and the thought loop, you're not going to be ready and able to come up with a positive call it out phrase, okay? So think of the phrase prior. And then, if you're ready to move forward and you'd like to be a part of that Connecting with the Coach call, that's on Tuesday. It's coming up on Tuesday. Go to my website, livingfullybalanced.com. Under the events tab is where all of my events are. The top tab, the next event, right, is the one coming up on Tuesday. It's free. It always will be. It's every second Tuesday of the month, but I do want you to sign up so that I know you're there, and I can send you all the information for the conference call. So that's Tuesday night. Love to have you join me. And remember, living fully balanced is always a work in progress, and we can do it together. So thank you for joining me today on my first Facebook Live. Thank you, thank you. Share this with friends. Let me know what you think. Appreciate your time this afternoon. No, it's not this afternoon. It's this morning. Bye-bye.